Hello and welcome back to Motor Authority Philippines. Today we are diving into a fascinating story, how the longer-dormant project Santa Barbara might be revived in a new form as a 2026 Philippine missile initiative. What enthusiasts and analysts are already calling the Santa Barbara missile. I'll walk you through the origins in the 1970s, the challenges and failures, the political legacy, and what a modern Filipino missile program in 2026 could look like. Back in the 1970s, the Marcos Sr. administration launched Project Santa Barbara, a secretive effort to build indigenous rockets and missiles, notably the so-called bongbong rockets. These were liquid propellant vehicles tested at Caballo Island beginning in March 12, 1972, marking the Philippines' first attempt at indigenous rocketry. Launches continued into 1973 and 1975. Government reports heralded the rockets traveling 2 to 12 kilometers into the sky or sea, but foreign analysts derided them as unsophisticated artillery rockets lacking real guidance systems. Despite government claims, Reddit accounts and historians describe the project as muddled, underfunded, and driven more by propaganda than true technical achievement. Engineers lacked comprehensive know-how in aerodynamics, guidance electronics, metallurgy, a full missile development stacker, and there were accusations of cronyism and misuse of funds. One Reddit commentator bluntly called it all show, with no completed prototype ever flown meaningfully. By the early 1980s, Project Santa Barbara shifted away from rockets and into alternative technologies such as solar dryas and alcogas research, effectively marking the end of the missile efforts by around 1986. Fast forward to the present, in the early 2020s, the Philippines underwent multiple waves of armed forces modernization under the AFP Modernization Act, with budget horizons running through 2028 and newer reforms dubbed RIA Horizon 3 approved in January 2024 under President Bongbong Marcos Jr. It envisions up to $35 billion in military upgrades over the coming decade. As part of this, local and foreign systems are being procured, including BrahMos anti-airship missiles for coastal defense, missile corvettes with missile capabilities, and collaboration with U.S. systems like HIMARS and MESIS to build anti-airship capacities. Now comes the tantalizing part. YouTube channels and defense blogs have begun circulating rumors of a revived Philippine precision missile effort branded as 2026 Seabreaker or J-34 missile, positioning it as a breakthrough in domestic arms production for maritime defense. These video titles hint that the Philippines by 2026 could field its own anti-airship cruise missile, perhaps built upon lessons from Project Santa Barbara but in a far more sophisticated, modern context. Imagine that, the Santa Barbara Missile 2026 as a sleek, cylinder propellant cruise missile AGPSA-guided, sea-skimming, capable of targeting ships or land installations at several hundred kilometers range. It would embody Philippine ambition to transition from relying on imports to establishing some measure of self-reliant defense capability. But what would stand in its way? The technical knowledge gap remains real. As one analyst on Reddit noted, even today building guided missile systems requires advanced skills and research institutions which the Philippines is still developing. There are also cost considerations. A few governments can afford missile factories unless integrated into broader partnerships or co-development programs with experienced external firms. That said, the shift from propaganda rockets of the 1970s to assisted co-development of cruise missiles in the 2020s could mark a real milestone. The key ingredients are clear: strong political will, sizable funding under RIA Horizon 3, and capability transfer partnerships are likely with firms or governments adept in cruise missile tech. If Motor Authority Philippines were producing a video, here's how that could unfold on screen. Open with archival black and white footage of Bongbong rockets and Marcos Era lab scenes, transitioning into maps of Caballo Island and Luzon test sites. Then cut to modern missile launch footage from BrahMos on Mises systems during Balikatan or Salanib exercises. Voiceover would explain the historical linkage, from Bongbong's debut in March 1972 to talk of a 2026 Santa Barbara missile. The narrative could highlight technical evolution. Early rockets were unguided and primitive, fired from trucks. Modern cruise missiles are NAVA-guided, sear skimming, with longer range and precision. Then include expert commentary, a retired naval scientist explaining that the 1970s rocket tests taught basic rocketry lessons, fueling academic interest that eventually fed into institutions like the Naval Research and Technology Development Center, which was founded in part as a legacy of Project Santa Barbara programs. Next, take viewers into modern defense labs and naval docks in Zambales or Cavite, introducing where a future missile could be assembled or tested. Reference Naval Station San Miguel planned for BrahMos deployment, a sign that missile infrastructure is expanding within the country. Then paint the 2026 scenario, a national anniversary celebration marking the first test launch of the Santa Barbara missile, perhaps named J-34 or Seabreaker 2. Show dramatized visuals, missile accelerating off a coastal launcher boat, streaking low over water, terminal guidance pylon locking onto target. Accompany the visuals with narrative that emphasizes symbolic weight, the Philippines reinventing its missile ambitions after more than 50 years. The conclusion would reflect on geopolitical implications, neighbor states watching, China reacting to a locally built anti-ship system, ASEAN partners viewing the move as regional precedent. But also domestic significance, being able to produce at least some of one's defense tech, inspiring STEM students, reducing dependence on foreign imports. Drive home that it's not unrealistic. Project Santa Barbara in the 1970s marked a starting point. Though flawed, it sparked awareness. Modernization budgets, international partnerships, and research institutions now give the Philippines a chance to build a credible missile system by 2026. Sign off with a call to action. Ask viewers what they think the capabilities of such a missile should be: range, guidance, warhead options. Encourage comments, shares, subscribing to Motor Authority Philippines for more defense technology coverage with Philippine context. Promise updates as the story develops. By weaving together history, technical insight, politics, and visual storytelling, this narrative frames the Santa Barbara Missile 2026 not just as a speculative rumor, but as a plausible symbolic leap from past ambitions to future potential. That wraps it up. Thanks for tuning in to Motor Authority Philippines. Hit subscribe and the bell icon to stay updated whether the Philippines truly relaunches its own missile development or not. The journey from Bongbong rockets to a 2026 cruise missile would be a fascinating chapter in the nation's defense and technological evolution.